Have you ever sent a text and then just stared at your phone? You hit send. The message is out there. You wait. 5 minutes pass. Nothing. An hour. Still nothing. By the end of the day, you're rereading the message over and over again, wondering, did I say something wrong? Should I text again? Should I just leave it? If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. A lot of men, smart, thoughtful, well-intentioned men, find themselves caught in this invisible tension. The texting anxiety loop. You try to connect. You try to show interest. You try to say the right thing. But instead of drawing her closer, you feel her drifting further away. And the silence, it's loud, not just because she didn't reply, but because of what your mind turns it into. You start thinking, maybe I'm not interesting enough. Maybe she's talking to someone else. Maybe I should have waited longer. Maybe I should have said more. But here's the truth, and it's a liberating one. The issue isn't just what you're saying, it's how you're saying it. See, most men approach texting like it's a transaction. They're polite, respectful. They ask how her day was, wish her a good weekend, maybe even compliment her in a sweet, honest way. And yet, it falls flat. Not because they're doing something wrong, but because they're not creating an emotional experience. Let's be real. We live in a world where attention is scarce. Your message is competing with work emails, social media scrolls, group chats, and dopamine hits from 100 different directions. So if your text doesn't feel something, if it doesn't spark a reaction, it gets lost in the noise. This isn't about playing games or being manipulative. It's about presence. It's about emotional intelligence. And ironically, it's where the wisdom of ancient Stoic philosophy becomes a surprisingly modern guide. Stoicism in the digital age. You might be wondering, what does philosophy from 2,000 years ago have to do with texting? A lot. Actually, the Stoics Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus weren't concerned with impressing people or seeking validation. Their core belief: focus only on what you can control. Let go of the rest. And when it comes to texting, let's be honest, we often focus on the wrong things. We obsess over how fast she'll reply, whether she uses an emoji, if she said haha, or just lol. But all of that is out of your control. What is within your control? The intention behind your message, the energy it carries, the tone, the timing, the emotional depth. You don't control whether she replies. You do control how you show up in the conversation. And that right there, that mindset shift, changes everything. You're not just texting, you're leading. Most people treat texting as casual communication, but if you're someone who values emotional connection, presence, growth, then every message you send is a reflection of who you are. Think of it this way. Texting is not just conversation, it's digital leadership. It's emotional presence, condensed into pixels. When you send a message, you're not just transmitting information. You're inviting someone into a moment, into your world. And the best leaders don't demand attention. They command it through clarity, confidence, and calm. Let's flip the script. Instead of asking, why didn't she respond? Start asking, what did my message make her feel? Was it forgettable, or did it leave a trace of intrigue? Was it polite, or did it carry emotional weight? Did it sound like everyone else, or did it sound like you? Because here's the hard truth. Most men sound the same, not because they lack depth, but because they don't express it. They overthink, they play it safe, they try to be nice. But nice doesn't create connection, emotion does. And this is where Stoicism doesn't make you cold, it makes you powerful. Calm over control. Let's say you send a message, and she doesn't respond right away. The reactive man spirals. He rechecks the app. He drafts a follow-up text. He wonders if he should double text. He starts doubting himself. The Stoic man, he acknowledges the feeling, then lets it go. Because his value isn't tied to a reply. His worth isn't measured in read receipts. His peace doesn't depend on whether someone validates his words. That's strength, not inaction, interaction. When you text from this place, everything shifts. You stop trying to impress. You start expressing with purpose. You stop over-explaining. You start leaving emotional space. And women, emotionally intelligent women, feel that. They can sense when a man texts from need versus when a man texts from grounded clarity. So here's your new standard. Every message you send should do one of three things. E, spark curiosity. R, build anticipation. San, make her feel genuinely seen. If it does none of those, don't send it yet. Final thought. Before we begin, you're not here to chase replies. You're here to connect with intention. Texting isn't a game, but it is a skill, one that most men were never taught, because no one told them that clarity, self-respect, and emotional depth could and should be reflected in every word they send. That changes today. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 3 powerful texting principles that women don't just respond to, they remember. We'll break down how to trigger curiosity with emotionally open messages, build anticipation by delaying gratification and guiding her imagination, give compliments that actually land because they're rare, real, and rooted in depth. But before we get there, take a breath. Let go of past frustrations. You're not here to repeat old patterns. You're here to shift. Let's begin. Let me ask you something simple but important. When was the last time your message made someone pause? Not just respond, not just react with a quick lol or thumbs up, but pause, think, maybe even smile quietly. Because something in your words made them feel something. That's the power of curiosity. And it might just be the one thing that most men completely overlook when it comes to texting. We've been taught to be polite, direct, clear. We ask things like, "How was your day?" or "Hope you're having a good weekend." And don't get me wrong, those are kind, respectful messages. They show care. But here's the problem. They don't move people. They don't open emotional loops. They don't create tension. They don't trigger any sense of mystery or excitement. They're safe, predictable, forgettable. And in a world where attention is the most valuable currency, forgettable is the last thing you want to be. Curiosity is hardwired into the human brain. It's what makes us click headlines, binge shows, and finish stories, even when we're tired. It's what makes your brain itch for answers the moment a question is raised. We don't just want to know things, we need to. That's the hook. So why don't most men use this in their texts? Because we were never taught how. Instead of sparking interest, most messages try to prove worth. We send too much. We over-explain. We fill the silence, hoping our words will impress her into feeling something. But the truth is, emotion lives in the gap in what's left unsaid. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is not necessary, do not say it." That's not about being cold or distant. It's about precision. It's about intentional presence. When you send a message, ask yourself, is this sparking curiosity or just filling space? Here's a shift. Instead of "How was your day?" try, "Something today reminded me of you." In the weirdest way. Now the conversation has weight. Now she's leaning forward. Now she wants to know more. And most importantly, now she's emotionally involved. You haven't told her anything yet, but her brain is already filling in the blanks. What reminded you of me? Why was it weird? What happened? That's curiosity at work. And it's far more powerful than a compliment or a clever joke. Let me give you a few real-world examples that create that emotional spark. You won't believe what happened today. You crossed my mind at the strangest moment. Just realized something kind of fascinating about you. You showed up in my dream last night, and it was unexpected. Now here's the key. Don't give everything away. If she asks, "What was it?" don't spill immediately. Say something like, "I'll tell you. But first, have you ever had someone pop into your mind right before something unusual happened?" What you've done here is open a new door. You're not just telling a story, you're inviting her into it. And when she steps through that door, She's not just texting you back. She's engaging emotionally. That's how chemistry is built. Let's be honest. Most guys rush. We feel the silence and we panic. We overtext, over-explain, overcompensate. All because we think more words will equal more connection. But that's not how human connection works. The men who create impact with their words aren't loud. They're intentional. They understand that less said, more felt is often the path to real attraction. They know that curiosity doesn't come from detail. It comes from invitation. And let's be clear, this is not manipulation. This is not a tactic to win her over. This is awareness. It's emotional intelligence. It's leading a conversation the same way a good writer leads a reader, not by dumping facts, but by inviting wonder. Stoicism teaches us to master our emotions, not deny them. So when you're texting, don't suppress what you want to say. Just say it with purpose. Say it in a way that reflects who you are: grounded, thoughtful, aware. That's what draws people in. That's what makes you memorable. So next time you start to type, don't write to fill the space. Don't write to get validation. Write to spark something within her. Write like someone who doesn't need attention but knows how to create connection. Before we move on to the next secret, I want to leave you with this. Every message is a mirror. It reflects not just your words, but your mindset. Are you reacting or are you guiding? Are you trying to impress or inviting presence? Texting is not about saying more. It's about saying what matters and leaving space for something deeper to emerge. That space, that pause, that moment of mystery, it's not empty. It's where attraction lives. Curiosity is the doorway. And if you want to connect, truly connect, don't kick the door down. Just leave it slightly open and let her lean in. Let's talk about the art of anticipation. See, curiosity might get her to notice you, but anticipation, that's what keeps her coming back. And yet, this is where most conversations die, not because the other person loses interest, but because there's nothing left to look forward to. No tension, no emotional build-up, no reason for her to lean in and wonder what's coming next. This is where the psychology of anticipation becomes a powerful tool and where most men completely miss the mark. We're wired for it. Anticipation releases dopamine, the same chemical that floods your brain when you're about to open a gift, step into a surprise, or wait for that vacation you've been counting down to. It's not just about what happens. It's about what might happen. And that space between now and soon, that's emotional electricity. But what do most guys do? They kill the tension before it even begins. They send texts like, "I planned something fun for us," or "I got you a surprise today." And sure, those are kind gestures. They're thoughtful, but they also shut down the very emotion they're meant to create. Why? Because there's no suspense, no mystery, no mental engagement. She reads the message, smiles politely, and moves on. But what if you said, "I saw something today that made me think of you, and I had to get it"? But you'll have to wait to find out what it is. Now her mind is working with you. She's involved. She's emotionally invested. You've created a small, open loop, and her brain wants to close it. That's the secret. Creating experiences through your words, not just transferring information. You're not just texting to check in. You're texting to create movement, to invite her into a story she doesn't yet know the ending to. And that's where Stoic philosophy becomes surprisingly relevant. Epictetus taught that we should delay gratification, that there's wisdom in restraint, that holding something back, even if you have it ready, creates strength. And this applies directly to the way we communicate, especially in dating. Think about it like this. Great stories don't reveal the twist in the first chapter. Great filmmakers don't show the climax in the trailer. There's pacing, there's rhythm, there's a reason to stay. But if you give away everything at once, there's nothing left for her imagination to engage with. So, what does this look like in practice? Instead of saying, "I have something to tell you," say, "If I told you what I just realized about you, you probably wouldn't believe it." Now she's not just curious, she's excited. She's anticipating the next move. And when someone feels anticipation, they're not passively scrolling anymore. They're actively engaged. You've shifted from information to emotion, from texting to storytelling, and that's where momentum builds. Because anticipation creates emotional gravity. It pulls her in, not by pressure, but by presence. Here's the challenge. Most men aren't willing to sit in that space. They get uncomfortable with the silence. They rush to answer. They rush to explain. They rush to reveal. Why? Because they think if they don't give her what she wants right now, she'll lose interest. But that's not leadership. That's fear. And women can feel that. They can feel when you're texting from insecurity instead of groundedness. The man who builds anticipation doesn't need to rush. He knows his energy already speaks before his words do. And here's the twist. The more patience you show, the more excitement you create. Let her imagination do some of the work. Let her wonder. Let her daydream about what's coming next. Because when someone starts to think about you, even when you're not texting, that's when you know you've left an imprint. So what does this sound like in real conversation? Let's say she says, "Just tell me already." You don't cave. You stay grounded. You say, "I could, but where's the fun in that?" Take a wild guess. Now the conversation becomes playful. It becomes dynamic. She's not just reacting anymore, she's participating. And when people participate emotionally, they bond. You're building something more than attention. You're building connection. Because here's the deeper truth. People don't remember what you said. They remember how you made them feel. So if your messages make her feel predictable comfort, she might like you, but she won't crave you. But if your words create a little friction, a little wonder, a little spark, that's when she checks her phone and hopes it's you. Not because you said something grand, but because your presence created movement in her emotional world. That's the art of anticipation. It's subtle, it's powerful, and most of all, it's intentional. You're not just texting to get a reply. You're communicating to create an experience. You're guiding her emotional rhythm not with pressure, but with pull. That's what Stoic leadership looks like in modern connection. It's not about being cold. It's about being composed. It's not about withholding to manipulate. It's about choosing when and how you give. Because the man who can pause is the man who can lead. And the man who can lead is the one who's remembered. So before you send your next message, pause it. Ask yourself, am I giving everything away too soon? Or am I building anticipation deliberately, thoughtfully, with presence? You're not here to text like everyone else. You're here to connect through clarity, presence, and emotional awareness. And when you learn to create that feeling of, "I can't wait to hear what he says next," you don't just get responses. You create resonance. And that lasts far longer than a moment of attention. Let's talk about compliments. Because somewhere along the way, we were told that if you compliment a woman, she'll instantly feel good about you. That it's the fastest route to connection. And while the intention might be good, the execution, for most men, it's all wrong. We've all seen it. "You're so beautiful. You have the prettiest smile. You're the most gorgeous woman I've ever met." On the surface, these words seem sweet, harmless, even charming, but let's be honest, they're also common, predictable, and in most cases, forgettable. Why? Because she's heard them before, over and over again, sometimes from strangers, sometimes from people who don't even care to know her name, and eventually, those compliments lose meaning. They become background noise. It's not that women don't want to feel seen or appreciated. They do. But what they crave more than flattery is understanding. And that's the shift most men never make. Real compliments don't aim to impress. They aim to express something deeper, something real. They don't chase approval. They reflect attention, awareness, and presence. And that's what makes them rare. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, said, "Praise not what is common, but what is rare." Think about that for a moment. It's not about pointing out what everyone else can see. It's about noticing what most people overlook. Beauty is everywhere. It's on every filtered selfie, every curated profile, every post designed for likes. But depth, mindset, energy, those things are rare. And when you learn to speak to what's rare, you stand out not as someone seeking attention, but as someone who pays attention. Let me give you an example. Instead of saying, "You're beautiful," say, "I admire the way you carry yourself." There's a calm confidence in you that most people miss, but it's powerful. Or, "You have this way of making people feel safe." That's rare. And honestly, it says a lot about you. Now you're not just complimenting what she looks like. You're honoring who she is, how she moves through the world, how she impacts others, how she shows up. And here's why this matters. A compliment that speaks to someone's character is not just kind, it's memorable. It makes her feel seen in a way few people take the time to offer. It tells her, "I notice things about you that most people overlook." And that, more than anything, builds emotional connection. But there's more to it. A good compliment doesn't just reflect her, it reflects you. It tells her what you value, what you observe, what you admire beyond the surface. When you compliment someone's mindset, their energy, their courage, their kindness, you're also revealing your own depth. You're showing her that you're not drawn to appearances alone. You're drawn to substance. That makes you rare. And women notice that, not because you're trying hard, but because you're paying attention in a world that's lost the art of doing so. But timing matters. 2. A compliment out of nowhere, especially one that feels rehearsed or generic and feel forced. But a compliment that responds to something she shares, that's powerful. If she opens up about a dream she's chasing, say, "I respect that. A lot of people talk about their goals, but you're actually building toward them." That's rare. If she shares something vulnerable, say, "Thank you for trusting me with that." Most people don't show that side of themselves. It means a lot. These kinds of words go deeper. They're not performative. They're present. And more importantly, they require you to listen, to be there in the moment, to care about what she's saying, not just how she looks saying it. This is where Stoic mindfulness becomes so relevant. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your life." I'd argue the same applies to your communication. The quality of your words reflects the quality of your attention. So if you want your compliments to carry weight, slow down, observe, wait for the moment that matters, and then speak from clarity, not craving. Let's be clear. This doesn't mean you can't ever compliment her appearance. Of course you can, but make it specific. Make it intentional. Don't say, "You're hot." Say, "There's something about your smile that feels warm, grounding. It's like you light up the space without trying." Don't say, "You're pretty." Say, "There's a quiet confidence in how you walk into a room. It's not loud, but it's impossible to ignore." Every word is a chance to connect her to be forgotten. And the men who understand this know that a single sentence, delivered with presence and insight, can say more than 100 recycled lines. So ask yourself, are you complimenting to impress or to express? Are you pointing out what's obvious or honoring what's meaningful? Because when you choose depth over flattery, authenticity over approval, your words land differently. They echo, they linger, and most importantly, they make her feel seen. That's what most men miss. They're not bad guys. They just haven't learned how to go deeper than surface-level validation. But you're not most men. You're someone who values presence, who communicates with clarity, who understands that emotional connection doesn't happen through performance, happens through perception. So from this moment on, let every compliment you give be an extension of your awareness. Let it reflect what you notice and know, what you assume. Let it show that you're listening, not just looking. And when you do that, you'll no longer need to fight for her attention, because your words won't just flatter her, they'll touch her. And in a world full of noise, that's what she'll remember. So, we've walked through the 3 core principles. First, spark curiosity. Second, build anticipation. Third, give meaningful compliments. Each one on its own carries weight, but together, they create something deeper, something rare. Because this isn't just about texting, it's about how you carry yourself. It's about the energy behind your words. It's about the mindset you bring to every interaction. And if there's one thing I want you to take away, it's this: you don't need to say more. You need to mean more. Most people today are obsessed with saying the right thing, getting the perfect reply, timing their messages like moves in a game. But real connection doesn't come from manipulation or overthinking. It comes from presence. It comes from being fully there, even in something as simple as a text. Because if your message doesn't spark curiosity, build anticipation, or make someone feel genuinely appreciated, it disappears fast. There are too many messages, too many conversations, too much noise. Your words have to cut through all of that, not by being louder, but by being more intentional. That's where the Stoic mindset comes in. Stoicism isn't about being emotionless. It's about being anchored. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." That applies perfectly to texting. We spend so much energy imagining why someone hasn't replied, what they meant, what we should say next, when in reality, all we need is clarity. Clarity about who we are, clarity about what we value, clarity about what we're here to create, not chase. When you communicate from that space, you stop needing constant reassurance. You stop trying to perform. You stop using words to fish for attention. Instead, you use them to reflect who you are. Grounded, thoughtful, present. You no longer ask, "Will she respond?" You ask, "Does this message reflect the man I'm becoming?" And that one question shifts everything. It takes you out of anxiety, out of overthinking, and places you in control, not of her reaction, but of your intention. Because you can't control how someone feels. You can't control how fast they reply. You can't control if they're even ready to connect. But you can control what you bring to the table: your energy, your tone, your depth. And when you do that consistently, something powerful happens. You stop texting to be liked. You start communicating to be understood. You stop writing to fill space. You start writing to create space for emotion, for reflection, for resonance. That's when your words start to carry weight. That's when people don't just read what you say, they feel it. And when that happens, you no longer have to chase responses. Because now, you're not just another message. You're a presence in their mind. Let's ground this in the 3 principles again. One last time. E. Spark curiosity. Leave emotional gaps. Don't explain everything. Invite people into your story. Let them wonder. Let them lean in. Curiosity isn't about withholding. It's about creating space for engagement. R. Build anticipation. Don't rush. Don't reveal everything up front. Use pacing. Use rhythm. Let her imagination play with the possibilities. That space between what you say now and what you reveal later. That's where attraction lives. Send. Give meaningful compliments. Notice what others don't. Reflect what's rare, not just beauty, but mindset, energy, character. Speak to her depth, not just her appearance. Let your compliments say as much about your values as they do about her. When you combine these 3 with Stoic presence, with clarity and self-awareness, your communication transforms. It stops being reactive. It becomes creative. You're no longer looking for attention. You're creating experiences, and that's what people remember. Because in the end, texting isn't about clever lines or fast replies. It's about creating emotion and doing it with integrity. It's about choosing every word with purpose. It's about holding space for silence without fear. It's about being a man whose presence can be felt even before a message is opened. That's what Stoic communication is all about. It's not about being cold. It's not about playing games. It's about being deliberate with your attention, with your time, with your energy. And when you start texting from that place, You stop worrying about who responds, because you've already responded to yourself. You've chosen alignment over approval, clarity over chaos, connection over control. And that shift, that subtle but powerful shift, it's what separates a man who's guessing from a man who's grounded. So, before you send your next message, pause it. Ask, does this create curiosity? Does it build anticipation? Does it make her feel genuinely seen? If it doesn't, rewrite it, not for here, but for you, because your words reflect your standards, and your standards reflect your self-worth. This is where it all comes full circle. You're not here to impress, you're here to express, to connect, to lead with presence, not pressure. So step into that. Let your words mirror your growth. Let your presence be the message. And let every conversation, every moment, reflect the man you're choosing to become. So now we arrive at the final moment. After everything we've explored: curiosity, anticipation, presence, intentional words. You're not just holding a set of strategies. You're holding a mirror. Because at the heart of it all, this has never really been about texting, has it? It's been about how you choose to show up, not just in conversation, but in life. So here's the real question I want you to sit with. Does the way you communicate reflect the man you're becoming, or the man you're trying not to be anymore? That one question has the power to change everything, not just how you message someone, but how you move through the world. Because whether we realize it or not, every message we send is a reflection of our current mindset. It's a pulse check, a subtle clue about what we're seeking, fearing, or trying to prove. And when you send from craving attention, craving validation, craving response, it shows. But when you text from clarity, from peace, from intention, from grounded self-respect, that shows too. And the difference between those two energies, it's not subtle. It's the difference between someone chasing a reply and someone commanding presence. That doesn't mean you're cold. It means you're clear. It means you're no longer trying to bend yourself to fit into someone else's world. You're rooted in your own. And from that place, the way you communicate transforms. You no longer send messages hoping they'll like you. You send messages that reveal you, your thoughts, your values, your humor, your insight. You stop asking, what will make her respond? And start asking, what reveals the most honest version of me? Because here's something no one tells you. The most attractive thing a man can offer isn't clever words. It's emotional integrity. It's the ability to say something simple, but say it with depth, with timing, with truth. So I want to challenge you now, not with a tactic, but with a practice. One principle at a time. That's it. Not all three at once. Not perfectly, just intentionally. Pick one. Maybe you start with curiosity. You begin to notice when you're about to explain too much, and instead, you create space. You invite mystery. You leave room for imagination to enter. Maybe you start with anticipation. You feel the urge to give it all away. And you pause. You wait. You tease. You pace yourself. You enjoy the silence. Because you know something more powerful is being built in it. Or maybe you begin with compliments, but not the usual ones. Not the "you're cute" or "you're beautiful," but the real ones. The ones that require attention, presence, and observation. The kind of words that can only come from seeing someone, one principle at a time, applied with care. That's how growth happens. Not through pressure, through practice. You won't get it perfect, and that's not the point. The point is that every message now carries meaning. It's no longer just about trying to win a conversation or impress someone new. It's about expressing your standard. Because the moment you start speaking with purpose, something shifts in the people around you. They feel it. They sense it. Sometimes they don't know why they're drawn to you, but they are. Because presence is louder than performance. And in a world obsessed with instant validation, a man who doesn't chase it becomes rare, magnetic, different. That's you. You don't need to type harder. You need to listen deeper. To yourself, to her, to the moment. You don't need to craft the perfect message. You need to ask, is this honest? Is this aligned? Is this reflective of who I am becoming? And if the answer is yes, send it. If the answer is no, rewrite it. Not because you're afraid, but because you're intentional. That's leadership. That's self-mastery. That's what Stoicism looks like in practice, not just when life falls apart, but in the ordinary, everyday moments where identity is shaped. This is one of them. The next message you send, the next silence you honor, the next compliment you give, it's not just communication. It's a statement of who you are. So from this point forward, text like a man who knows he doesn't need to perform. Speak like someone whose energy speaks before his words ever do. And if you feel resistance, the old habits pulling at you, the urge to chase, to explain, to fill space, smile at it, acknowledge it, but don't obey it, because you're not that man anymore. You're someone who has traded anxiety for awareness. You've exchanged neediness for discernment. You've moved from reaction to intention. And the beauty of that shift is this: you don't need everyone to respond, because the ones who resonate with your presence, they'll feel it. And the ones who don't, you won't have to chase them to find out. So start today. One message, one moment, one principle. Let it reflect you, not your fears, not your ego, not your craving. You, the man you are becoming. That's the only conversation worth having. And if you live that, truly live, that your words will carry weight, even in silence. If this message resonated with you, don't let it end here. Hit subscribe and join a space where clarity matters more than chaos, where words are chosen with intention, and where growth isn't just talked about, it's lived. Leave a comment. What principle will you apply in your next conversation? Your insight might be exactly what someone else needed to hear today. And if someone you care about has forgotten their worth, share this with them. Sometimes, one calm voice can help cut through all the noise. You're not alone on this path, and you don't have to figure it all out at once. But every choice, every message, is a chance to lead with presence. And that starts right here.